Day 2 at Edgbaston. I'm actually here with George to ask questions of George. George, it's lovely to be here with you.
Well, it's very nice to be here with you.
Okay, well, the first question we've got is from Jim.
Hello, Jim.
And Jim's going to ask, did we all get a little bit overexcited during the New Zealand tests and think that England actually stood a chance against India?
I think we all thought that this was a possibility, but maybe. But that's not such a bad thing, is it? I still think England have got a chance. They produced a miracle a game in the last 2 or 3 tests, and who knows, they might do it again. I think we thought that India would be tougher opposition, but maybe we thought that India were a bit undercooked. So maybe we got a bit overexcited, but I don't think anyone's completely shocked that this has happened, are they?
I don't think it can be, can you?
No, I mean, it's always, even England said they were going to have days when the wheels were going to come off, and that's what we saw today.
And New Zealand were a very different New Zealand to the New Zealand of the last couple of years as well. You've got to remember that.
Yeah, New Zealand were unlucky. They've had retirements, they had illnesses, they had injury, and England played really well at times. So a lot of combinations. Hey, we're 2 days in. You've seen in the last few weeks that cricket's a wonderfully unpredictable game.
JDK asks, is Bazball being used as an excuse for England to play brainless cricket?
Yes, I think you've put that really beautifully. That's exactly right. It's naive. Today looked, I thought, testosterone fueled.
You were trying to come up with all sorts of ways to describe it today.
Well, yeah, they didn't work. Should we
we'll test it out in the audience.
Live fast, die become young. Doesn't really work. Didn't make it into a piece. Didn't even make it to a tweet.
You know that it's
it wasn't good. There's something there somewhere. Anyway, I think they played really naive cricket, and there's a reason why even the very best sides, even Viv Richards, had a very good defence. You know, you still have to build a test batter on their defence upwards, I think. Maybe I'm going to be proved wrong. There were a couple of times in the last few weeks that they kind of did prove me wrong, aren't there? And they may yet, and I might look very dour and old-fashioned, but I think that their cricket is a bit reckless, and actually India have shown that you attack at the right times. But by the way, it was England's bowlers today who were worse than England's batters, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought
truly poor this morning.
England in the field were about as bad as you'll ever see England be in the field, because they play Broad and Anderson, very experienced. You know exactly what you're going to get from them, and today you didn't.
Keshav asks, could Stokes have started with Anderson in the morning instead of himself or Potts, rather than waiting for the new ball and limited some damage? Well, Potts actually got a chance very early in the morning, which was put down when Jadeja was 92, so that's harsh to say Potts shouldn't have started. He's making chances.
Yeah, I don't think that was... So, it was a bit negative, wasn't it? That they bowled, basically, it seemed to me, for the new ball, but they would claim that they were bowling for a wicket, but just the wickets they're bowling with are the short ball wicket. And I think, again, that's a bit naive. It's trying to batter down a door when sometimes you can just press the doorbell. Conventional test cricket, I know it changes a bit, but pitch it up, try and nibble it around. I mean, they're saying it wasn't nibbling around, but that's partly because they've been bunging it in short for ages. We're just
nibbled around later on, didn't it?
It nibbled around for the Indian bowlers, didn't it? Jimmy Anderson said there wasn't a lot of nibble, but I don't really know how they'd know. When he started with the second new ball, they had 7 fielders out, including 5 on the boundary. And he just said, well, it kind of worked, didn't it? Because I got someone caught on mid-off. I mean, what did they concede in that period? We worked it out.
78, wasn't it?
78 in 11 overs. It's a big portion of the game, that.
Scott McKenzie asks, I know the batting gets scrutinised, and rightly so, especially the openers, but is our bowling really good enough? Bumrah and Shami are terrifying. England don't strike the same fear.
Oh, look, Anderson, I thought, bowled magnificently on the first day. It's different, isn't it? He doesn't have their pace and stuff, but he bowled beautifully. I mean, look at the ball to Pujara. Fear. No, Pujara would fear that. It's an unplayable ball. It's magnificent. So I know what you mean, but I don't think that's quite right. There are different ways to do things, but you might have wanted an attack with a little bit more variation, but we've said these things before. I don't think England did too much wrong until today with the ball. I mean, they've just they overdo the short ball to tail enders. It doesn't work. I don't know why they still do it.
Ben Rigby asks, will Crawley outlast Lees in the team, or perhaps a double change for the next series if both fail second time around?
Well, Lees is kind of fortunate that he's escaped any scrutiny, I think, because he's in his 7th test and he averages 23. And I thought his dismissal today was poor in a different way to the others, in that he left a gap so large that you could have reverse parked a caravan in it. And it just didn't look very good. The others were out playing sort of reckless big shots, which they've been encouraged to do, but which is worse, played a part in your own dismissal or not? I don't know, neither are great. A double change is absolutely possible. This nonsense about the criteria being more about style than stats, rubbish. It's all about making runs. It's about making runs and winning. And actually some of us quite like old-fashioned conventional cricket. I mean, the cricket England's been playing has been brilliant as well. But there's beauty in a leave, there's beauty in a forward defensive, there's beauty in a conventional push on the back foot. It doesn't have to be smash and power and score at 8 and over. It doesn't have to be like that.
When you hear Stokes say, regardless, Zach Crawley keeps his place, how long can regardless last?
I'm sure he meant till the end of this series, because there's a natural break now. I think they play 3 championship games each, or those who aren't involved in the Whiteball sides. So it seems like a natural time to ask him to go back to county cricket and score some runs. I mean, he might want a holiday, which is entirely natural, but I think he does need to go and score some runs in county cricket. And there are other people knocking on the door. And, you know, personally, I'd be very tempted by Sam Robson, but Rory Burns, Dom Sibley, you know, you'll all have your own other suggestions. I think they're viable alternatives, and I'd give these guys one more innings. I mean, you're not going to make a decision halfway through the game, are you? And I'm pretty confident they're going to bat again. But it really is time to deliver. And the thing is with Crawley, you can't just say he'll come good, because pretty much every top order batter in England will come good occasionally if you give them enough opportunities. You know, if you played Darryl Mitchell or Libby or someone at Worcester now, if you played them for long enough, they would score you some runs. They're competent players. But it's about doing it with a bit of consistency, and he's been very consistent, I'm afraid.
Hitchy is asking, is a night watchman allowed in Bazball?
Well, come on, it's not positive. It is not positive. You know, all the stuff about positivity, and then you send in Jet Leach like that. Unless you've been sent out to be a pinch hitter, which maybe is what they'll claim. No, that was definitely negative. I think pitch going short with I think giving a single to Jadeja was fairly negative to get a go at your number 10 and 11.
It all felt quite anti-Bazball the whole way through today, actually.
I wouldn't mind if they weren't playing Bazball, or you know, I don't love the expression. I think that's the first time I've used it. I don't love it, but I wouldn't mind them not doing that if they were going to be a bit more sophisticated in the approach. But it just seems to be so all or nothing. Anyway, no, that was surprisingly negative, and it was Ben Stokes who was protecting Ben Stokes, so it was surprising, really.
Sahil asks, should we bring back 8-ball overs, because clearly Bumrah gets the magic after the 6th ball. It happened again twice today. Bumrah bowls a no ball and then he gets a wicket with the extra delivery.
Yeah, I think that Stokes did it too, didn't he, yesterday?
Yeah.
No, we probably shouldn't. I'm old enough to remember 8-ball overs.
I still play 8-ball overs midweek.
Yeah?
15 8-balls.
Well, I guess there is some logic. I don't know. Yeah, let's call them sets.
We're nowhere near the 100 yet. You're still already starting to get that.
I just can't see the point of those sorts of changes. There are lots of things that you could do to improve the game. Hey, how many overs did they bowl today? 37. Warwickshire got another ground about 2 miles away, and they got 50 in there.
So you're unhappy with how long it took after the second rain break?
I don't know enough about what went on. But I do think there are things like that the game should be more focused upon.
Although, to be fair, the Edgbaston crowd today, they provided their own entertainment anyway, didn't they? With the stewards jumping over the boundary rope.
They did. I thought by the time that went into the second hour of the poor fella jumping over the boundary rope, one, it seemed like cruel and unusual punishment to the poor fella. He was getting a little bit out of breath. And two, you know, it wasn't great. It was about as good as Deal or No Deal. That's a rubbish show, isn't it? Edmonds is probably looking at it going, I can make a show like that. A fella jumps over a rope. It's gold.
It's very parched.
Does Edmonds watch this? Probably not.
Write in if you do not.
Is he on Twitter? I don't know.
Is he on Twitter?
I don't know. Probably.
Ben asks, is there a risk with Bazball that Joe Root moves too far from his natural game and becomes less effective?
I mean, you'd have to say he's had a terrific summer. And he had a bad day, and you know, he's human, so he can have bad days. I mean, and they bowled very well at him. It might be as simple as England are just up against a much better opposition, mightn't it?
Yeah, although after that last rain break, he came back. He was trying to late cut everything. He was playing missing.
Yeah. So the first ball after the rain break, he went for a lavish drive outside off, missed it. Second one, he edged it through sort of gully-ish region, and then whether he was trying to hit that one that got him out, it looked like he was kind of trying to uppercut it. Look, it wasn't a good innings, and he's obviously a magnificent player. That can happen. But, I mean, look, the question's right. It's Ben, isn't it? I think it's a very sensible question. He doesn't need to change. He wasn't the problem. Joe Root needs to just go on being Joe Root. And he scores at such a fast rate. Anyway, I thought his innings in the first test of this summer at Lord's was, utterly magnificent. And I don't know what rate he scored at, but I think the last 80 came out a run a ball. He doesn't need to change. There's plenty of time anyway. So yeah, good question. Hopefully it's just a blip. He'll calm down and reflect on that and go back to being the great England batter he is.
And we'll probably see him tomorrow to bat again anyway.
It's a fair chance, isn't there? Oh yeah, I mean the follow-on's even in play here, isn't it?
Considerably. It's 3.
Well, no, but people don't tend to enforce, do they? But
the bowlers have hardly had a workout.
So what's happened is every 2 or 3 overs they've been able to come off, have a rest, and go back again. So it's tricky for England. But of course it is. They're up against a very, very good side who, I don't think they got a lot wrong in that punt stand. I thought he played absolutely magnificently, and sometimes that happens. But I thought they've had their worst day of the summer today. They've had their worst day since Grenada today, and it makes what happens from here really, really difficult for them to get back into the game. Bear in mind they've got to win this game to draw the series, and that's why if you concede 78 in 40 minutes, you're making life very, very hard for yourself. And I thought it was, as I say, naive, testosterone-fueled cricket.